Good morning. So assembly, huh? That's pretty cool. Actually, what I've been thinking about was that had that live stream earlier. I guess it was on Friday, and then I was just kind of messing around. So partway through, I realized that I hadn't been taking breaks. I didn't observe the Pomodoro, and I realized that was happening. And I was like, this seems all right. This is fine. And it wasn't fine because now the first thing I did was end the stream and think about it. And I sat there and thought about it for a long time for the rest of the day. And I went to bed, and I woke up the next morning and went, oh, well, that's wrong. Like, in the middle of the night, I read the sentence again in my head, and I went, oh. Like, I pictured it and then read it again in the documentation and went, that's not right. ADP 734, should have leveled ADP. Oh, yeah, I forgot about that too. And no, you can't. You get too close to it. You gotta take breaks. Gotta get away from it. You gotta step away, let your brain unwind a little bit. Because once I did that, I was like, oh, I understand now. What I was doing made no sense. And now I'm reviewing the live stream for stuff I might have missed or needed to do or whatever. And I'm just like, no, what are you doing? No, what are you doing? No, what are you doing? There's another aspect to this. And I guess it kind of is time, because technically downtime in order to process this stuff requires time. That's like half of downtime. And, one of the things you want to do is maybe you're just a man. It's a male thing. You just want to go charging directly at the problem. And then if you fail to make it through the wall, you just charge straight back into that wall one more time. And you keep charging harder. No, you gotta have it spaced out. I was sitting there thinking about why this made no sense to me. The only thing I could think of was it needed, what's the appropriate use of my time is probably a better question. Because this one particular portion of it just didn't make any sense. And wasn't reacting in a way that made sense to me. And I lacked no information. I had sufficient input. The problem was my understanding of what I was reading. Understandest what thou readest. So there doesn't seem to be, unless you hire a trainer, find someone who knows Raspberry Pi PIO, which you could probably find someone on the forum, and be like, hey man, I'll give someone $50 to get on a Zoom call with me for an hour and explain some of this stuff, because I do not grok at this point. And that's kind of what we want to do. It actually might have been the correct use of my time, but you know what? I'm just being stubborn, I guess. I want to do the autodidact thing, and my lesson here is you need to take breaks. If you want to understand what's going on, if you want to build all these structures simply by reading, which is not how we should be learning. It is unkinesthetic. Every time I watch Doing with Images Make Symbols, my understanding of it becomes a little bit more in depth, or deeper rather. So the point is, I've got 3 or 4 documents open that all have some oblique references to some things, and none of them are fully complete as far as their explanation. And the ones that are actually complete are too complete. And you can't figure it out until you just steep yourself into the information. You You just jump into the giant hot tub of ones and zeros and sit there until you are baked to an appropriate temperature. Cooked, rather, I guess? I don't know. And at that point, things will start to coalesce. Things will start to come together. I was whipping eggs, I think. I was using an automated, like a mixer, a baking mixer. It's like a mixer. I forget what it was. It was like just eggs or something. It was eggs and something else, and it's like mix it for 5 minutes. And I'm gonna follow the instructions because I value my time. So I'm like, okay, well, I'll mix it. And I started mixing it, and it's like that is mixed. Like 10 seconds in, that is as mixed as it's gonna get. Oh, it was cream. Yeah, like that's mixed. And I keep mixing it for another minute, and it's like, okay, it is just as mixed as it was before. Minute 2, minute 3, minute 4. Like, my hands are getting tired. I'm just sitting here mixing it. It's done mixed already. It's finished. Okay, it's mixed. I guarantee it. And then like 10 seconds short of the 5-minute mark, it suddenly began to get fluffy. Like, it started to do a new thing. And my mind was slightly blown because as far as I understood, the mixer would mix the thing as much as it could physically be mixed. And that was not true. I mean, like, within a minute. It's the power of electricity here, but no, we just keep on mixing it until you wear down. Maybe that's what you're doing. You're wearing down the. Well, if that were true. If you're actually wearing down, like, the chains inside it, or the amino acids, the chains that are together, the bonds that bring it together, that make the cream actually thick, if you're actually breaking those down physically, then the amount of time you would have to whip would vary based on volume. Or moles. Right. So the point was, you had to just give it 5 minutes. You're like, bro, I'm mixing it. It's been 3 minutes and 50 seconds. It's mixed, okay? No. Just mix a little more. 1 more minute. And hey presto, there you go. So it's the question was, how do I learn, how do I optimize my learning? How do I optimize my understanding of this? And normally it has been fiddling around with it and figuring out what's going on, messing around with it until you go, oh, I understand why this isn't doing this, and why I understand why this is doing that. You're able to put 2 and 2 together, but not until you understand what the 2 is and what the plus is, and that the outcome is actually correct instead of just guessing at it. So you need the understanding, and this is a completely new architecture, and PIO is a completely new thing. But every time I read the information, it was sinking in just a little bit deeper. So I guess the answer to how to learn that faster is just to take time and then take a break. And everything comes up pelvic girdle. Pomodoro wins again. Just spaced repetition, right? And it could be that 25 minutes with a 5-minute break is optimized already. If I'm gonna guess at something, I'm gonna default to, or if I'm gonna try at something, I'm gonna try the most popular thing first. And the most popular Pomodoro timer is 25 minutes and a 5-minute break. Even though I think a 5-minute break is kind of useless, but here we are. So, I have an interesting idea. I'm doing this, messing around with the Pico and the PIO in order to explore the potential for a. First of all, I like the Pico, and I think the PIO concept itself is, well, in the way that it has, additional bits built into it, literally bits built into it, that are designed to make it easier to interface with, going straight from the left lane, easier to interface with other older protocols and match their timing, and like little tricky ways to work around some issues with the assembly. Really, really intelligent stuff, and really making use of every bit. I appreciate that. The thing is, it's actually, I haven't seen where it's done somewhere else. I'm probably gonna have to look up some more information about it, but it's actually kind of genius. It's actually really genius, actually, because the potential for creating these tiny little state machines and then just feeding them information, like once you create the state machine, it doesn't matter. You can make up your own protocols at this point. Like, you can optimize whatever you want, man. It's great. And you can go full speed if you want. It's really just something. It's really cool. And it makes good use of the hardware. It makes exceptional use of the hardware, actually. Because it has like a bit-by-bit level explanation of the instructions and how the data is stored in there. Because you can modify it, too. You have direct memory access. It's ridiculous. It's so cool. Right. So the point was, I'm getting it so that I can work up a PS2 protocol interface, something that can speak PS2. And I have some understanding already of what's required, so I'm building toward a specific end. Timing and bits and concurrent data and stuff like that. And while I'm doing this, I'm being introduced to other concepts and understanding, oh, well, this it's not driving multiple bits because it runs by one instruction timer. It's actually driving multiple outputs. So if you want to feed 2 bits out, you need 2 GPIO or 2, PIO assigned pins. And you will feed those bits out concurrently on the same clock cycle. You don't have what I supposed in the live stream, that if I set it to 32 bits out, it's going to grab that one and it's going to bang, 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 bang. It's going to fire over and over and eat up as many instructions as is necessary. Although that would be kind of cool. It would be kind of obvious since it has the 32-bit on the end of it like that. It would kind of make sense, but it doesn't. So whatever. So the idea that you can create a whole bunch of ones and zeros and fill out, 3 lines and have 3 bits that are set concurrently, you can do all kinds of weird stuff with that. Not to mention, polling can take place over the course of a single clock cycle, which means you can have, not only can you have a PS2 keyboard, you can have an insanely fast PS2 keyboard. And who likes insanely fast PS2 keyboards? Yeah, it's gamers. Pro gamer move. The potential for creating a, once I got that idea in my head, I started building it out. Like how quick could it possibly get? And the answer is pretty dang quick. Now, obviously, I'm gonna have to. There's probably a little bit of leeway in the PS2 timing. That has probably been worked out over the interceding, over the previous decades, 2 or 3 decades of messing around with the protocol. Whatever PS2 keyboard, I would probably say coming out of Dell, getting the timing that comes out of that keyboard would probably be your most normal, most standard, most contemporary application of the PS2 protocol. And getting within that timing initially, and then kind of shrinking down the clock and just seeing how much speed you can squeak out of it. This would be, you'd be shaving a few millionths of a second off of it. So I'm not sure if it makes that big of a difference, but the potential for building something that's extremely quick, like the latest thing, or the earliest, one thing I could find pretty easily was Razer talking about their gamer keyboard having a 800 or 8,000 hertz polling frequency. polling rate, and like the more keys you have to pull, the more time it takes for the polling process. It takes longer for it to come back around, and that actually doesn't make any sense, because you've got keys, especially if you're a gamer, you have keys that are higher priority than others, and because they're higher priority than others, there are some keys that are lower priority. Obviously, this is a logical syllogism here. Something is more important, then something is less important. Yes, this is the high quality information that you come to me for. But further, if we're just talking about a gamer keyboard, what prevents you from making just like a gamepad? You make a gamepad, I mean the Raspberry Pi Pico has 32 I/O on it. And you only really need 2 for the data and clock lines for the PS2. Which means that you can have you can sample everything directly off of PIO and have the entirety of the keyboard state updated. So this is no pulsing and sensing, no matrix. Each switch, 30 switches wired directly to the input, and then read the state of those switches 125 million times a second. Yeah, with the wrap function, yeah. It would be a single assembly instruction. That's it. And that output goes directly into... Well, you can't request it. You do have to push it. You do have to push it. So you get 1 extra instruction. On the wrapper? Oh, yeah, maybe, yeah. Still pretty... Slightly fast. Yeah. I was trying to think of how to do the pulsing and sensing, or how to expand that to a larger keyboard, but it doesn't actually matter, because like I said, it should it should pull each individual switch by being connected directly to it, and then that buffer would be automatically populated, and we could read straight out of that buffer. I mean, like, if you wanted, we could read it directly as a pointer to the key, whatever the key code is. Yeah. A 32-bit pointer. I don't know if memory accesses. It's gotta be. Huh. So the potential for making an extremely fast keyboard, which is not 1,000, but more than 10,000 times faster than the current, at least advertised, fast gamer keyboard. That's pretty. That's something. Like that would be measurable. We should be able to record that like with a camera. And then I start thinking about like how do you actually record that? Because you might have to record it on a it'd have to be, yeah, without pulsing and sensing, it would be immediate. Huh. You have to set up as a pull-up. Yeah. That's interesting. Yeah, and you can do it on the data line too. Yeah, you would be able to time that. You time it directly on the GPIO, you know, one probe on the GPIO, the other probe on the data line, or the clock line, and you see when it drops out, or when it drops down, for the start bit. Ooh boy, that'd be a fast keyboard. Might be the fastest keyboard ever made. The fastest keyboard ever made. Only for pro gamers. It costs $1,000. No, $2,000. That's right. $2,000 for the competitive advantage. The funny thing about gaming, like, people talk about this stuff like, oh, you know, oh, does it, we're at the millions of polls per second, bro. Like, does that really decide a game? And the answer is yes. It does actually decide a game. Like, oh, the human can't. I read that the human being can't perceive anything faster, any difference that's slower than 200 milliseconds. And I'm like, no, I can totally tell the difference. Are you serious? Like, I could probably get down to under 100. But reaction time and stuff like that is IQ related. So it is possible that if you have a higher IQ that you could do more. But like gaming events, the flipping back and forth, the decision to click or not to click, that comes down to milliseconds, dozens of milliseconds maybe. So yeah, taking the competitive advantage of if you hit that keyboard button and it connects electronically, and you've got pull, hits the key, those extra pulls might have actually cost you. Like, you might not even know it. Technically, you can. I don't think you can know it. Yeah, that's something. So, super fast keyboard. That'd be kind of neat.